Happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome to the Nona Boss Continuum. I see all of my fan favorites over there in the chat. I don't know where everybody is tonight, but they're going to be here pretty soon. I know they are. They're going to file in. Hi, Gary and Jane and Jean. I know Brandy and her crew are, and hi, Ida and Krista. They're going to be here in just a little bit, too. They'll be in that chat. So thank you guys for being here tonight. And I am so excited because I have hi, Crystal. Hi, Val. I have the amazing pleasure of having a very special guest with me tonight. And I'm going to just read his bio, get you guys all excited about tonight's show. Mr. Bill Slevin is the founder of Paranormal Existence Research Society, based out of Coral Springs, Florida, with teams in Florida, Georgia, Nebraska, UK, Italy, and Greece. Bill is an empath and has always been fascinated by the paranormal since he was a kid, dealing with his own experiences, and has worked in the paranormal field for 35 years. Besides public and historical investigations, Bill is an expert in residential hauntings and has been a part of well over 500 plus residential investigations, helping those in need, and has dedicated a lot of time helping people looking for answers over the years. Bill can be seen on TV, radio, podcasts, magazines, and newspapers all across the world. His most current is the new shock doc on the Travel Channel called The Devil's Academy, also streaming on Disney Plus. Bill was also on the cover of American Paranormal Magazine for March of 2023, and will be in the July 2023 edition of Paranormality Magazine. Bill is also the regional director of the Southeast U.S. and part of the management team for the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research, founded by Lorraine Warren and Chris McKinnell, the grandson of Ed and Lorraine Warren. This foundation is dedicated to helping people in an ethical and caring way. The foundation consists of many experienced and educated people in the paranormal field all across the country and the world. Bill loves to learn as much as possible about the paranormal and science, and is dedicated to helping further the paranormal industry. Bill is a parapsychologist working on his PhD in parapsychology, paranormal science, metaphysical humanistic science. Bill is also a demonology specialist, being part of many dark and demonic cases. Bill has been in the technology field for 30 years and is an expert in technology, including photography and CCTV cameras. Bill is also a paranormal educator and public speaker who loves to educate the public, all about paranormal and the unknown. He and his team can be seen at various libraries, conventions, schools, and other public events all over the United States. So please, let's welcome Mr. Bill Slevin.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me. I didn't know you were going to read the whole thing.
I do it here. We do that here. Mm-hmm. I think I learned
that
from
intro.
Tom. Of course. Yeah. I thought I was going to get through it pretty flawlessly there, but then at the end, I'm like, oh, wait.
There's a lot there.
I almost made it, Bill. I almost made it. But thank you for being here tonight. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited because you are a neighbor of mine.
Yes. How we have not known this all these years, I have no idea.
I know, right? It is crazy. And all at the same time, we even have a mutual friend.
Yeah.
Mr. Tom Springer, everybody.
Yes. That surprised me. I had no idea you were there last night.
It was such a fun show. He did tell me to bug you a little bit.
Did he? All right,
yeah.
That's all right. You might get some coming on here to bug you too. So
well, let's talk. Let's just start a little bit with this brand new shock doc that you are in. You know, the Devil's
Academy.
My gosh, I froze. Forgive me. I saw that. First of all, you know what's so strange? I remember hearing rumors about that place back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
but when I saw that documentary, I was like, I had no idea all that craziness was going on in that school. Like
I'm
that's
originally from New Jersey, and I remember hearing about it up there. Something about, not a lot. There wasn't a lot out about it, and they didn't talk about it too much, but I remember hearing about it a bit up there. So yeah, it kind of traveled around. It was a big event at that time.
gosh, it was just crazy.
The
Like,
Yeah, they actually filmed me for that about 2.5 years ago. I don't know if it was COVID or whatever. It took a long time to
oh
get out there.
wow,
Yeah, it was.
really?
I actually had given up on it. I used to tell everybody, I always filmed for a documentary for the Discovery Channel, and then it never kept coming out. And I'm going, I don't know. It's at some point it may be there. I have
Wow.
no
So you
idea.
had like you literally didn't even know when but that happens sometimes in that, like in this world, right? Like
Yeah,
in this,
they they
you
take
know.
time. The shows take time. I've worked with them before. They take time to put everything together, see
Yep.
how it has to be right to be able to sell it. And they
Yep.
needed to get a lot of information too. There
Yeah.
wasn't a ton of it out there. So, but it was I love how they put it together. It was a really interesting show, and it's just an amazing story. I always said the thing I wish that it happened more recent, because there would have been camera footage, there would have been cell
Right.
phones, there would have been a lot more that you could have seen, because I would have loved to seen some of the things they said, like the girl levitating off the floor in the bathroom and the kid jumping
Yes.
through the window, you know, because there's a lot of controversy between it. Some people will say that it was a mass possession of the school, and some will say that it was the kids being so oppressed in that school and the torture they were going through that they just finally lost it and acted out. And that's very possible. But if you're oppressed and you're pissed and you're acting out, you don't jump through a second floor window, land
Right.
on the ground, and get up without a scratch. And then when the security guard comes over to you, throw him clear across the parking lot. So,
Right.
and people don't levitate when they're, upset.
Yeah, like but to find out though, the most shocking part for me
Mm.
was that these kids were introduced to all of these paranormal, well, do we want to say paranormal or do we want to like
It's spiritual, occult.
spirit,
There's a lot of different things
spiritual
you could go with
occult
it.
type practices?
Yeah.
They were that, I mean, that's where like they got introduced to all this stuff because
Yeah.
they actually lived on campus.
Right.
It
They,
wasn't like a day school where they like got dropped off in the morning and
right.
picked up at 2 in the
And,
afternoon. I mean, they lived there. It was
right.
a
And they were allegedly
aerospace.
abused a lot.
Yeah. So it was
And they
a
believe that the headmaster, the owner, was into bad, the dark side of Santeria, and he was teaching them Santeria. They were teaching them Ouija boards and tarot cards, and
mhm,
without explaining any kind of dangers, and a lot of the dangers weren't talked about back then. And
right.
it just kind of exploded, and they were doing hypnosis. The whole thing about it is they were doing hypnosis on the one girl who they believe might have been the main person, like, possessed. So when they went to hypnotize her in class and try to hypnotize her, they believe it was a reaction from whatever was in her that caused her to run out of the room and not want to be hypnotized.
Right.
But people rip doors off the hinges, and I mean, it's all kind of crazy stuff. Like I said, I would have loved to see actual footage.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been, but I think they did show some actual footage of that El General,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the general who gave himself that title. I mean, it's not like he really wasn't a
Right,
general.
right,
And,
right.
I mean, I feel like that whole time,
That's my
you
wife.
know, hi. Like I feel like that whole time, I think that they made a very big point about The Exorcist coming out, you know,
Panic,
Carrie.
panic time. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, this, you know, it was, I definitely think that all of those horror movies and, you know, like, I mean, did The Exorcist kind of scare me? Well, it wasn't my favorite movie, and it's not something that I like to watch. But the one that really freaked me out was Carrie.
Hmm. What's funny is with me, I mean, I watched horror since I was little. The only movie that ever really freaked me out back then was The Exorcist, and
Was
I
it?
don't know why. And yeah, and it's funny because look what I do now. I don't
Right.
know how you transition between that, but that was the only movie that ever freaked me out. I remember, sleeping in my bed and holding the sides of the bed because I thought it was going to start jumping up and down, and I was young, but it was to me it was frightening. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
I mean, yeah, I mean, it was scary, and it's not, like I said, I've seen it maybe a handful of times, and that's probably all I'll ever see. Like, I probably will not like go and, like some people are like, it's Halloween, we're watching this and the, you know what I mean? Like, they're going down the line of all these like really scary, but I think the one that got me, the most afraid was Carrie,
Mm,
because I felt like Carrie, that whole storyline in that movie could have like really been real.
yeah, and telekinesis. I mean, yeah, no, nobody
You
really
know,
knew. Yeah, nobody
nobody
knew.
really knew. Like don't tick off somebody who has abilities,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, see, that's why it's always they go back to people who like know karate and stuff. Never mess with people because you don't know what they know. They got to go back to that. That's more concerning.
Yes, yes, it is. It is. So you have also too been, you do, like you said in your bio, like you do a lot of public speaking
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. And so let's talk just a little bit about that. And then I want to kind of get into the groups that you have and the different areas that you cover and what your groups
Sure,
cover. I want to talk about PERS. I definitely want to
sure,
definitely get to that tonight too.
sure. Well, so with the public speaking, I started doing, libraries and conventions. I'm brought in as a guest to a lot of conventions, and I do a lot of speaking at the conventions. I like to go, and yeah, we are there to entertain you a little bit. We do show some evidence and talk about some things, but I also try to mix in a good amount of education because I
Hmm.
think that more people out there need to be educated about the paranormal and about what is real and what is not. Because as much as I like the TV shows, I'm on some of them and I don't say anything bad about the shows really. It's because, but they are for entertainment.
Hmm.
So you have to, take it a little bit with a grain of salt of what is fully real and what may not be. Like, you know, demons and things like that are very, very real, but they are very rare, very rare.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I like to talk about. The biggest thing I talk about, and you'll see if there's anybody I know in here, they will say something as soon as I say this, is orbs. It's one of the biggest things I try to educate people on, and it's the biggest thing I get slammed for. I'm on a million groups on Facebook, and I go into the group specifically to help people. Like they'll post something, and I will be
Hmm.
the one to logically explain it and educate them, and not just say like, oh, it's a piece of dust. I'll explain why it is
Hmm.
what it is, how it's caused, how it's created, all that stuff to try to get them to understand so that, and it's not to discredit them or
Right.
to shoot them down or make them look dumb or whatever. It's to educate them so that when they go out the next time, they'll know better of what to look for.
Yeah.
But I get slammed in the groups on this
Well,
stuff. Oh my God.
I will
Uh,
tell you, I personally have had a lot of experiences, a lot of different kinds of experiences,
right.
cryptids,
Hmm.
paranormal, like all kinds. The one thing I have never experienced is an orb.
I have seen three in 35 years of doing this, real ones. They are very, very different from what everybody thinks and what everybody sees.
Let's
All
talk
that
about
stuff
it.
that's floating around. And I tell people
Talk
too,
about it.
this has not, if you're in a room and you all of a sudden felt something, or you sensed something, or you think you saw something, has
Hmm.
nothing to do with the orb. the orb, that piece of dust that may have flown past the camera and reflected the infrared lights and all that kind of stuff, that is totally separate from any experience you may have had. Experiencing something is very much, it's much easier than to actually capture it. Capturing it is very different. Most of the best evidence is never captured. If anybody that's out there has been on, actual investigations, you'll learn the best things do not get captured. They come at the worst time. They're at things I've been on demonic cases. They suck all the energy out of everything. They drain the batteries. The cameras go off.
Mhm.
And then things appear. It's great. 35 years, and I know very few people who have seen real orbs, and I know not one person that has ever captured one. Now, I'm not saying there hasn't been, but I don't know
Yeah.
anybody that. And again, we did this back when it wasn't talked about, when there wasn't all this equipment. It was very different back then. Now I have way too much equipment.
Nice.
I don't use it. I don't use most of it in a home. I use very few things in a person's home. But when we do a public stuff, I'm an IT director during the day, so I have tons and tons of equipment. And if you didn't know, I'm an IT director for a psychiatric drug and alcohol treatment facility. So I have 10 years of really learning a lot about psychology and psychiatric illness, and it helps me when we encounter it, because we encounter it a lot when we deal with clients. It's
Mhm.
not always paranormal, but there is a lot of, it can be both.
It can-
We tell people, let us know, because some people are scared to tell us that. They'll think we'll go, oh, you're just crazy, then that's it. And it's not it. It can be both, actually. They are more open to being,
to
attached and things like that, because
right.
they're already a little oppressed.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that point up. I forgive me because I can't remember the author, and you probably know it. But there's a book called The Paranormal and the Trickster, where it talks about that a lot of these kinds of things happen to marginalized people,
Yeah.
or they're happening in transitional places like
Mhm.
hospitals, jails,
Right.
like prisons, and like all of these very, mental hospitals and all of these places, like all of these strange places where there's a lot of people moving, transitioning, going from one
Hmm.
part of their life to another part of their life, and being very marginalized, that
Right.
they're very susceptible to these kinds of hauntings
Hmm.
or possessions and these kind of things. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it definitely. And I had Morgan Knudsen. Do you know her?
I've heard the name.
She's out of Canada, and I had her on my show a few months ago, and we talked about that. And I tell you, her background is very similar to you, very
Right.
similar. And one of the things she talked about was the same kind of thing, that there's almost 80 to 90% of the time, these things can be explained. And a lot of them do have a lot to do with mental illness at some point, possibly.
Yeah.
So,
Not read, listened to a book. I forget the name of it. I'll have to get it to you. It's a very known psychiatrist
mhm,
that was a total non-believer, and then he got involved in some cases and wound up flipping the script on what he knew, and started helping for years and years, helping the Catholic Church with cases of demonic possession and everything, to
mhm,
be able to go in and check them out, to make sure that it wasn't mental illness, because it's very important. You could really harm a person that has a mental illness if you go in there and tell them that
mhm.
they have a demon, or they're haunted or something, and they're really not. Can really damage them. So he would go in and do extensive research on them, and make sure that they were not. And he talks about a lot of the cases he was involved in, and things that were very, very real, and how he learned, and he was a
Mhm.
very well known psychiatrist.
Yeah, I just think that a lot of them are very, like, misidentified, right? Like a lot of
Mhm.
the cases are just not, or people just are not really looking in the right places. I think we got to
Right.
always start, and you and I talked about this before the show. Like, your mind shouldn't jump to I heard a noise, and I have a demon in my house.
A lot of people do now,
And
unfortunately.
yeah, and that's so sad, because I feel like the message is kind of getting lost. That
Yeah.
was one of the reasons why I absolutely loved, when Dead Files came onto the scene,
Right.
because it was like at the end, sometimes it was just a loved one that was there. Maybe the loved one was there protecting them, or the loved one was just trying to, so it's just like, it wasn't always these negative things that we just like automatically, our brain kind of goes to at the first.
Right. Right, and that's the thing. That's why when I'm explaining to people in those paranormal groups, and even at the lectures and stuff, I'm explaining to them how to look for things, and the causes, and because it's important. It's important if you want.
Mhm.
Everybody now just, it's like the cool thing to be haunted or capture a ghost, and we all want to capture one. We do,
Mhm.
but you got to learn to know the difference, or else you're just going to be running around with things. And you know, I laugh when the problem isn't so much the person who posts the comment or the picture, they asking for help, but they also want it to be something because they want that capture. But the
Yeah.
problem is the people that come in and tell them all the misinformation. There'll
Mhm.
be 40 people in there telling them it's a bug, and then there'll be two that come in and be like, that's a demon, or that's your grandmother. Oh, I could see it. And they don't
Right.
realize that they're actually, damaging these people too. They're, if somebody, a lot of times, some of these people, they're searching for something, like they just lost somebody, and they're,
Right.
they're searching for it. So they took a picture outside, and the sun reflected a lens flare, a little blue orb that's right by them, and they believe it's their mother who passed. And I explained to them, I'm sure she's there, and she's there, but you have to understand what that is. The other people come
Mhm.
in and tell her it's your mother, she's trying to give you a message, and they don't realize the problem with that is, if you get somebody who's really grieving bad, they may take that as a sign and then go out and grab
Mhm.
a Ouija board and
Right.
go home and take the Ouija
Right.
board out and now start to try to contact them, and they're going to eventually possibly get something that's not mom. So
Right.
it's dangerous. They don't realize it is dangerous.
Yeah.
I've seen everything. I saw somebody post something and somebody say, oh, that's definitely a demon, get out of the house. And the actual person said, wow, that would be cool. Obviously, somebody who has no idea what a demon can do, but
Right.
that would
A
not be
real.
cool. I don't
Yeah.
I I don't get scared on investigations. I don't do it anymore. I've been 35 years. I don't get scared. And I've been touched, pushed, everything you could think of. But I'm frightened on everything that is a demonic case, because they are terrifying and you have no idea what's going to happen. Anybody who says they're not has never been on a real demonic case.
Right. My friend, Krista from their channel is Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast,
I've heard of it.
and she's amazing, and we've talked about it, and she's been, professionally trained to deal with that, and she's,
Sure.
witnessed, and she's, and she says the same thing. She's like, very rarely is it a demon,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
very rare. And it's it's the things that can happen and how it can happen is I don't think that, well, I think that people are more inclined to think that they're going to get possessed by a demon, you know what I mean, if they use a K2 meter, right?
Right, right, right.
Like, I don't want to look at that. I don't want to go at, like, and that's kind of not how it works.
No, it's no, no, no. I tell people I don't recommend, and some people do it, and if you do it, it's your own choice. I don't recommend ever using your equipment in your home.
Mm,
I I will test them to make sure the batteries are working, the things chart, whatever it is, make sure they're
mhm.
working. But it's like anybody. I tell them, is a Ouija board dangerous? It, it's the board isn't dangerous. It's no different than any
Other tool.
communication device we use. It's
Yes.
about the intent of the person using it.
Mhm.
So if I pull out a Ouija board or even a digital recorder in my house, and my house is not haunted, but if I pull them out and I sit here long enough talking, eventually I'm gonna pull something in. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's bad. It's just I'm gonna pull something in. The reason the Ouija board gets such a bad rap is because most of the time you have two types of people that use it. Kids that are playing around. I did it in high school myself, you know, and then the people that are looking for somebody. And that's where you get into trouble because those people are already a little oppressed because they're grieving or they're really searching
Mhm.
for somebody and they're not going to know when something comes in that can harm them because they're
Right.
going to believe it's their relative, you know, and most of the time it's not.
Hmm.
That's the problem with it.
Yeah, I personally have had a couple of experiences where something negative tried to, for again, lack of a better term, tried to jump me.
Hmm.
And it's like, but I recognized it right away. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I recognized it and was like, ain't happening. You
Right.
know,
Right.
like not happening, not with this girl. Mm-mm. Bye-bye. You're out of here. You know,
Right. Right.
your
Yeah.
butt's going back to source. So have fun. Enjoy the ride, you know.
I keep myself well protected when I go out on any type of thing. I don't scare people and tell them, well, if you go on a ghost tour, you need to be fully protected. I don't believe that because I tell people most of the time when you go to places that are like tourist attraction type of things that are known
Mhm.
haunted places, those things that are in there are normally attached to the place. They're not there to follow you home.
Right.
But people also don't realize that when they say attachment could be one of two things can be an actual spirit that attaches to you, or it can be what they throw their negative energy onto you. And I had that
Mhm.
happen recently, even well protected. I've had that happen to me a few times. Um, usually, I've been pretty lucky. I take care of myself, and I've been pretty lucky. But it has happened a few times, and the last time was back in October. So it is possible. Just when you go into places, just be respectful. Don't
Mhm.
taunt
Yes.
things, don't provoke things. That's never good.
Yes, exactly, exactly, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. Like the respect thing is, it has to be there. It needs to be. If you're not, I don't know, if you're not respectful, like in your everyday life,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
but we need to be respectful to the human
Well,
beings that were here in the physical, right?
right.
So
It's the same thing with
same thing,
spirits. They
same
say,
thing.
can they really harm you? Are they really evil? And spirits were originally earthborn people. So
Hmm.
if you have a person who is a cranky old person in life, they're going to be a cranky old person, probably even more cranky in death. So yes, they can be mad and cranky, and they're not necessarily there to harm you, but they may not be very friendly.
Right. I have never had an opportunity to ever really be in a situation though where there have been reports of like people getting like injured, like
Mm,
scratched or hit
right,
or
right, right.
pushed or shoved or anything. I've never had anything like that ever. I've never been in that situation before. I mean,
The,
what's that like? I
the
mean,
the first time it happens, you're definitely going to be caught off guard. I mean, you're definitely going to be like you're gonna you know what you're going to do? You're going to question yourself. Like I've been places where I get touched constantly, and you'll feel it, and you turn around and you're like, okay, nobody's there. Okay, I'm imagining that. There's no way. And sometimes it doesn't happen all the time. It is kind of on the rare side, but I mean, I've been pushed to the floor. And
wow,
I don't know if it was pissed off at me, if it was pissed off at somebody there. Definitely was nothing demonic in there, but I was pushed to the floor,
yeah.
and it can happen. It's again,
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, I know some of my team members have had experiences, but nothing really that's harm them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It, I've the scratches. That's a tough thing. I've been involved in things where I've seen somebody gets scratched and it was on a demonic case, and it was very, very different. People wake up in the middle of the night and they have a scratch on them, and I know they want to believe that it was something spiritual. And could it have been? It's possible. We don't know unless you had something watching you. You have no idea. But in a night of sleep, there are so many things that can happen. You can turn over. If I wear my watch to sleep, your watch could hit you. Your husband, wife, whatever could hit. If you have an animal, anybody could scratch you by accident. Not enough to wake you up, but then you wake up and you see the scratch, and right away everybody jumps to, ghosts.
Yeah.
Could it be? It's possible, but most of the time it's not.
Most likely, no.
Yeah, most likely no.
Yeah. So most likely, most of the time, things can be explained. Things can be debunked and explained by science or,
Right, exactly. And the thing is, on TV shows, they don't, most of them, some of them do, most of them do not take the time to come on there. They're not there to educate you. They're there to entertain you. So their job is not to teach you that piece of dust, that orb was a piece of dust. They're there to make you believe it's possibly a spirit. And could it be? It could be. But if I can explain something, then to me, it can't be paranormal. Paranormal is the unknown and the unexplained. And if I can explain it with technology or science, then it can't be paranormal. A true orb has its own light. It's like it's an actual ball of energy. So it has its own light. So it will never reflect camera lights. So it's not going to reflect flash. It's not going to reflect infrared lights at night. Actually, if an orb came into a room where you have a security camera or your Ring camera, a real orb would have so much light on it that it would turn your camera into daytime mode. It would make it think you put the lights on. Wow. So it would not reflect infrared light. And those are the things that, people don't understand. And I tell them, well, if you ever get the opportunity and see one in your lifetime, you will understand what I'm saying. Until then, I know it's tough,
Yeah, because my son is he's Mr. Techie too, and he and we've always talked about, like, you have to know your equipment, not just what it is, but what its capabilities are.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I have heard. I know this sounds crazy. I have actually, I have heard, I'm not even going to go where I heard it from, but I have heard people say that certain cameras are in the they're made in China, right? Yeah. You've had to have heard this, right?
Yeah, I know this.
Cameras
I'm not sure about the camera, but I know what you're talking about because I know the recorders.
Oh, no, not the DR60. No,
Right.
I'm talking about cameras.
Yes.
I've heard some chatter in other communities talking about how cameras that are built in China don't perform in the same way here. And I'm like, why wouldn't they? Like,
yes and no. It's not performing. It's just that people have this crazy notion about this. Let's go to the DR60 for a minute. So
yes.
The DR60,
let's talk about it.
Yeah. And now the thing is with that, there are two versions of it too. There's the US version and there's the Hong Kong version. And the thing is, everybody looks for the Asian version, because if you look on the back of the US version, it says, it's regulated by the FCC or whatever it is, the communication stuff. So it has a regulation. They can use a little bit different, electronics, because they're not regulated over there. So could it have something different? It's possible. It could have a different, frequency or a different thing that could cause things. But, I'll go into a little bit on the DR60 and
go for it. Yes, please, because
I'm going to tell you
there's a lot of confusion about the DR60. So absolutely, let's go there.
And I know, and I'm not going against anybody. I know there's a lot of people that use them. I have one. Okay, I got one not that long ago. I've used them before, but I got one of my own not too long ago. The thing with the DR60 is it's an old recorder that was kind of the popularity was brought to light because of the TV shows,
Hmm.
and it went from being a $30 recorder to they're almost
Thousands of
5,000 now on eBay. They're crazy, but between 3 and 5,000.
thousands.
Um, and the thing about it is there's a little bit of a myth behind it. Back in I think it was 1998 when it was out, they said people were returning them to Panasonic, and they were because they were having issues with it. But there's a rumor, it's never been confirmed, it could be real, but they said that people were returning them because they were getting voices coming through them. So that sparks the whole, controversy
Hmm.
about it. Panasonic actually, you can research it and find it. Panasonic did research on the device, and they determined there was a flaw in the inner workings of the recorder that causes it sometimes to record things inside of it, or kind of back. There's a lot of they
Hmm.
have a whole explanation of it. Now, when you use the recorder, the reason people love it so much is because a lot of the times, probably 8 to 9 times out of 10, it will produce something. Doesn't I'm not saying straight out voices, but you'll hear a lot of static, a lot of garbage, and everybody tries to figure out what this says. Now,
Hmm.
I go back to the whole thing again. Could it be something? Absolutely. We don't know. But I don't consider it evidence unless I can easily understand it. And what we call a Class A EVP would be something I heard, and I played for at least 2 to 3 people that I don't tell what I heard. And if they all hear the same word, that's called a Class A EVP. So I've had some of the best captures on there, honestly. But
On the DR60.
yeah, yeah, honestly. But does that mean it's like the paranormal, super
Hmm.
device or whatever gateway to the, paranormal? No, I don't believe so. It's just that it does produce a lot of stuff. You have to be able to you're fine using it if you can determine what is real and what is not. Don't
Hmm.
let the audio Paradolia take over in your head and start
Yes.
to hear everything. If you're searching for a word,
Hmm.
you're going to hear it eventually.
Hmm.
And that's why I try to tell people don't do a lot of yes no answers, because it's very easy to hear yes or no. Ask questions that you could get more than a yes or no. And again, listen to it, and don't try and search for something. Just let it be there. When it's real and it's something, you're going to hear it straight out. You're not going to have to listen to it, and kind of like the pictures. You don't have to zoom in 300 times across the street in the leaf to see a face.
Right.
That's not what you need to do. It'll be right there. And that's the same
Hmm.
thing I think with the DR60. And I even use some of our captures
Yeah.
that we do at our lectures are from the DR60, and you don't even need to explain them. They're just phenomenal captures, but it's not everything.
Yeah. Well, but you bring up a really good point about audio like pareidolia.
Yeah,
That is a thing.
yeah.
That is a real thing.
If if
So,
I if I play a staticky recording to you
mhm,
and you don't hear anything, and then I tell you no, it said, listen, get out. Your mind is now gonna listen for that, and it's gonna create what they say, just like the regular pareidolia with your eyes. It's
mhm,
creating a familiar thing from an unfamiliar thing. So, you look at the cloud and you see a face in the cloud. It's because your mind is making it like that. The man in
right,
the moon,
right.
the things like that. It's all the same thing, and it is very, very real. And it doesn't mean everything is like that. It's just you got to be able to distinguish the difference.
Yeah, which can be, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of people who can, that's why you being out there on the road and doing what you do and
Yeah.
educating people on things like this, because it is important. And a lot of people don't realize that there are these
Yeah.
little things out there that there's science can definitely
Hmm.
explain, and
I'm,
so yeah,
I'm not.
it's important.
Yeah, and I'm not saying go out and take scientific courses. You know what? The two main things really is go out and learn a little bit about photography. And I'm not
Mhm.
really even talking about just taking pictures. Learn about how the photography works and how
Mhm.
things are created. The term orb was not from back in the day. When I saw orbs, in the way back, they were called energy balls or spirit balls or something like that. The word orb came out from digital photography because if you go into actual manuals for cameras, you will see the term orb and you will see it explain how to not how to not capture these orbs by using your flash correctly with your lens and things like that. There's a
Mhm.
lot of different things. And then learn a little bit, if you're going to go in with video cameras, learn a little bit about CCTV and a handheld camera because they're very, very different. I tell people when they see something that, eh, you know, they think it's an orb going across, and I tell them it's like a bug walking on the lens of the camera. They don't want to believe it because they go, how can that be a bug when it's round and transparent? And I said,
Right.
come on. When you see a real orb, they're not transparent. They're 3D. It's a ball, a ball of energy. But a bug, the CCTVs, like your security cameras, your ring cameras, they have what's called a fixed focal lens. They focus on a fixed distance.
But
So when
right.
something comes right up to the lens or is on the lens, it can't focus on it. So it makes it blurry and transparent and round for some reason. And it's what confuses people all the time because I don't blame people, because if you see it and you don't know, it's creepy, you
It
know.
is creepy. I've
But
seen a
you
lot
have
of
to,
those.
yeah,
I've seen a lot of strange stuff on these,
there is
especially the
a
ring
lot.
cameras.
Yeah. Oh, ring
Especially
cameras are
the
the
rings.
main thing now. Everybody captures. And the thing is,
Mhm.
I will explain this too real quick. If your ring camera goes off and you I've had people tell me this all the time. No, 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 it's not dust. It said it was a person because you have the motion sensors that go off. It detects as a person. Motion sensors don't understand. So when something is very close to the lens, it is the camera sees it bigger than it is.
Mhm.
So a motion is set to not go off for your pets. So they're set for a certain thing to be off the ground and bigger. So when there's a bug that's right here on your lens, it thinks it's giant and it's off the ground, so it detects it as a person.
Wow.
And it's the
That
basic
makes so
thing.
much
Mm,
sense.
to some.
No, that makes a lot of sense. It
Mm,
absolutely explains that phenomenon that like people don't think about. Like, because we don't know. I mean, okay, great. I mean, I got a ring camera and it's
mm,
hooked up to the Alexa, and the Alexa will say, hey,
yep.
like there's so many little things, but I don't even, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know how Alexa works. I don't even want to know how Alexa works. I just need to know that she's got my shopping list on there and
Right.
I'm good,
I'm
you
surprised
know?
she's not going off. When you say it, I'm surprised it's not going off. I have them throughout the house. Look, I'm a technology guy. I'm not
Mhm.
afraid of them.
Yeah.
If the government wants to listen in on my conversations, have a good
Have
time.
at it, right? What are we
What are you
really
going to
talking
find out?
about? Like they're going to shut my show down because we don't really, we talked
Yeah.
about orbs in a DR60.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I'm not talking about government conspiracies.
Right. At least on my show tonight, we're not talking about
Yes.
that. I mean, we do go down that road sometimes,
Do you?
you know, yeah. Yeah. We do sometimes
Well,
I
dealing
try
with
not to
people
though.
dealing with people and evidence is like dealing with government conspiracies because
Yes.
I've had people. I've actually had one person tell me. Obviously, it was it was a person that was. I don't normally do this. Like, I'm not going to go on and discredit other investigators and stuff like
Mhm.
that unless I see something really ridiculous
Yeah.
that too many people don't understand. Like, I saw a guy in one of the Facebook groups. He came in and he put videos and he said, "We're at a residential last night," and which I don't even agree with posting info from residential cases. They're
Right. Yeah.
confidential, but if you want to post a little evidence, whatever. But he said, "I have the most compelling evidence ever." So I'm immediately, curious, because believe me, if it is, I'm going to tell you. I'll be the first person to tell you. They think I'm like a hater and a non-believer. I'll be the first person to tell you. And what I see is, he says, we're at this house, and they had like a fireplace with a mantle, and takes out the flashlight and he puts it on the mantle, and I go, oh my God, this is about, and no, anybody out there who does this, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to discredit you, but the flashlight is used to light up the room. Do not use a flashlight to ask yes and no questions, and I'll explain why. Now, could a spirit can manipulate electronics. They can manipulate energy. So can they manipulate a flashlight? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? But just leave it there and tell them to turn it on.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to turn it on, they will. But when you take the thing, which was taught on TV, to take the mag light and unscrew the cap until the light just goes off, and then you put it there and you ask questions, and if it lights up, it's yes, and if it doesn't light up, it's no. There is a million scientific possibilities to this, and I have a video somewhere that I use that shows somebody that did a million tests on this. That a flashlight in the room, and I'm not talking about big temperature changes, I'm talking about 1 or 2 degrees. Cold, hot can make that thing expand and contract, which will make it hit the connection, break
Hit the connector, and then turn it.
And I had somebody do it with different devices to heat it up, cool it off, and they used a thermal camera to show it get cold and hot and watch it go on and off. Could it work? Play around with it on a public investigation. I have no problem with it. Do what you want. I love testing all stuff, but don't do it on a residential investigation and say it's evidence to the clients. So I explained to the guy, I said, you got to understand the flashlight trick isn't real evidence. And he went crazy on me. Told me I've obviously never investigated before.
Right.
And just started saying all kind of stuff. And I'm not one to go on there. I don't brag about how long I've been doing this, what I know. I only tell them if they ask. And he said something like, who are you? Why do I? And I said, well, if you want to know what I know or who I am, just look me up. And I don't know what happened, but like 20 minutes later, he deleted the whole post. So I don't know. He went and looked me up and see whatever. But, again, it wasn't to discredit him, but there was so many people in there that were going, oh my God, I got to try this. And it's really, I mean, if you go on a local abandoned place or on a whatever, and you want to play with it, test things out. I mean, I have tons of equipment here I would never use as real evidence, but I'd love to play around with it on an investigation, because sometimes you get stuff you can't explain. Take the batteries out of that thing. If it goes off, you got.
Then that's a whole other story.
Yeah, do the real test.
A real test. It's true. But because I see it all the time in the cryptid community. I mean, it's rampant with those kinds of things, and people would post those kinds of things in my group, and I just decided how I'm going to handle it is I have an entire list. I have 12 questions. And I will, if you come to my Facebook group and you post a blurry photo, I don't care whatever it is, you're going to get all 12 of my questions. Some of those are, who took the photo? Where did this come from? Where did this photo come from? Is this your photo, or are you repurposing this photo from somewhere else?
Right.
What kind of camera? What kind of equipment was it used? Was it daytime? Was it nighttime? What was the weather? I have a whole thing.
And you don't realize that can affect it. The weather affects
the weather. Everything. Yes, absolutely. There's a million reasons and how certain things can, So I politely start doing that now. And guess what? They don't post in my group anymore.
Oh, are you in the Hauntings of Florida group? That's one of the ones that has a lot. It actually is a good group, but you get a lot of craziness in there. And it's funny because sometimes you try to explain to people. You say, okay, well, looks like humidity on the lens. And they're like, no, there was no humidity. Where was it? Oh, I was in Miami. Well, Yeah, there's humidity in the winter in Miami. I don't know what you're talking about. If you're in a building for 30 minutes going through a walkthrough, and then you walk outside and now you have orbs. It's
Yeah,
the lens.
100%. I mean, like, because Matt and I, like, when we go out and, he loves to make films, and we would run into those kind of things. It would be like, okay, well, we just drove 3 hours in an air conditioned car and it's 95 degrees outside, like it's
Yeah,
going to affect your equipment.
yeah, absolutely. Just learn your equipment. Learn
Yes,
about
learn
how it works.
exactly.
That's it.
Yes. Yes,
It,
yes,
it
yes.
can. There's a lot of things that can produce many false results. Do not, do not, and this is again my opinion. Do not use phone apps. Phone
I
apps.
was going to ask you, that's so
mm,
funny you said that, because that was my next question. I was going to ask what your thoughts were on these, like, like
It's tough
Spirit
because I
Talker
know
and Necrophonic
I
app. And,
I know it. I know they're so popular and
mhm.
people love to use them. And why they love to use them is because it produces results. Why does it produce results? A good amount of them, I'm not going to say all of them because I'm not getting in trouble. A good amount of them are actually programmed to produce false results because, false positives. Because think about it. You have an app out there and people are like, oh, okay, it's a ghost app. Let's see what it does. And all of a sudden it starts producing things. Words are coming up. Some of them are actually programmed to listen what you're asking, to go through your phone. You know how when you put on an app, it says it needs
Mhm.
permission to this, and this? Well, guess
Yes.
what? It goes through your contacts and it pulls out people's names. It goes through many different things and it can use that in its word bank and it can produce a lot of different things. So it knows, and plus it also knows what you're asking. It knows the basic questions. Anybody here? What do you do? What's your name? It knows all this stuff.
Mhm.
So you want to try it, take it out in public somewhere, take it along with other equipment and see how it registers. But also remember, your phone is a phone. So it does not have the technology inside of it to do half the things that these apps say they do. Your phone
Mhm.
is not an EMF detector. Your phone is not a thermal camera. Your phone is not an SLS camera. So
Yeah.
ghost
So,
tube. I'm
okay,
not even going to go there with that one, but it's just
I got a
again,
question.
yeah. Go ahead.
All right, I got a question about
Go
these
ahead.
apps.
Yeah, yeah.
So, my friend Krista from Blondes and Booze, they were doing Brandy. It's Krista and Brandy are the Blondes and the Booze, and Brandy was on location doing. She was at the Hill House, I think it was in
Hmm.
Texas.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
she was at the Hill House. Krista was in. She's in Missouri, and then I was on from here in Florida.
Right,
I had my headphones in, my like, noise canceling headphones,
right.
wearing those. And I thought, what the heck? Let's turn on Spirit Talker. And I just had Spirit Talker just kind of just like sitting over here. It
Right.
wasn't hearing anything that was going on. And yet it was it was giving words and phrases that made sense to what was going on in Texas at the Hill House.
I'm not saying it
Isn't
can't
that
work.
crazy though?
No, I'm not saying it can't work because I know a lot of people. Look, I use an
Yeah.
Ovulus at times out again, not on residentials,
Hmm.
but out in places. And Ovulus is kind of the same type of thing in a way. It uses a word bank. Um,
Hmm.
so can it be 100%? No,
Right.
but when it does say something to something you're doing, it's quite interesting. The thing with those, the main thing is you have to know the word bank, and if you have the
Right.
word bank file, you'll know because if a word comes up that's not in a word bank, whether it's an app or a thing, that's something crazy. But when you were listening, you had your headphones on, but you were talking, right?
No, no. I
Not
mean,
much.
no, no. I was just listening to what was going on. I got to
Right.
say something. Sorry.
Hey, look, it's sure, bless you.
Sorry.
It's absolutely possible. I'm not saying it's not,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
it,
I was just like, things like I was kind of just like just listening because we were they were having so much activity. It
Right.
was unbelievable. And I was just listening, I wanted to hear
What was going on? Yeah,
voices,
yeah.
these
Right.
disembodied voices that were going, because like I could hear them, and then I'm like, I want to hear this. Like I put my headphones on, like, and I was hearing
Right.
so much stuff, and I'm like, let me turn this on, and it just, and so ever so often I would just go, hey guys, Spirit
Mm.
Talker just said this, this or that, you know what I mean? And
Right,
it was
right,
like,
right.
it was correlating. It was so
It's
wild.
it look, it could be. I
No,
tell
no.
people, look,
Thanks, guys.
don't use
Sorry,
an
I
app for
sneeze.
real. Yeah, don't use the app for considering real evidence, like in a person's
Yeah.
home.
Right.
Play
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the stuff
Yeah.
out there.
Absolutely.
Play with
Absolutely.
stuff out there.
That's a
Take
different thing.
that and take an Ovulus together and see what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Take two people's
Two
phones
different.
with the
Uh-huh.
same app and see what happens. But the thing people have to remember about a phone also is, and this is even if you put it on airplane mode, the problem is your phone has so many apps and things running in the background
All the
that you
time.
don't even know about that can cause little tiny vibrations, little tiny noises that can contaminate all your evidence. So I say don't use your phone. I'll pull it out every once in a while to record something, like
Mm-hmm.
if we get something on the DR60 or on a recorder or something. I might pull out a phone if I don't have my camera right there. But remember, if those things are on, obviously if they're not on airplane mode, it's even worse because they're actually
Right.
producing EMF by trying to find Wi-Fi signals. But
Yeah.
if it's on airplane mode, those apps still run. Some of them in the background. So if you're using it, a lot of people use it to record. Look, go buy a cheap recorder. Don't use your
Mm-hmm.
phone.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be more safe, because
Yeah.
this way you'll know if you capture something, you'll know a little easier if it's
It's
something real than could it
yes.
have been something on the phone that caused that.
Correct.
That's
Well,
the thing.
it's a really good way to eliminate a lot of other possibilities, right?
Right.
To
Right.
minimize there being any other, because you have to
Right.
vet things, right? Like you said,
Right.
you're gonna, like, you get this piece of evidence, but you want to, like, you want how many other people to be able to I think that's so
Right.
important,
Yeah. Yeah. No,
super
absolutely.
important.
Always have multiple things with you to test
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. I mean, we one of the things that, like, in the cryptid world,
Mm.
the whole thing with the tri-field meter came up. It's like, oh, they can make this tri-field meter go off, right? And Matt and I thought, okay, well, we're going to get one. We're going to check it out. We're going to use it, and we're going to check it out. We're going to take it on. When we go out in the field, this is what we're going to take. We're going to see. It took us, I think, 3 times is when we, on time 3. That's how early we figured it out.
Right.
Time 3. If you got, if you're, you're a content creator out there, anybody who's a content creator out there, if you are live streaming
Mm.
on your phone to Facebook, to TikTok, to Instagram, to wherever it is, it's going to go off. It's going to top out. It's going to go
Yeah.
screaming. Doesn't
Hmm.
mean that there's a Sasquatch within 30 feet of you.
Yeah. It's
It means that it's picking up your phone,
right.
it's
What
setting it off.
I have tri-fields. What I like the tri-fields, and and because
I
they
like them
can
too, but
determine.
not for that.
Right, right. They can determine more of the actual readings, and the thing like we use it
Mhm.
for, we'll use it in a home, but we don't use it
Yes.
for yes and no answers. We use it to go around the house and to determine any place that has spikes and what the
Mhm.
spikes are coming from to see if that's causing something. Because I've had
Mhm.
it, to where the cause of their thing was so much EMF in the house, So you got to watch. There was a room we were in one of the houses where they had the air conditioner was over here and the Wi-Fi was over here.
Oh my
And in the middle was
goodness.
a massive, like, I don't know, it was like an explosion of EMF that was coming from both of them. And they
At the
were,
same time.
merging. And, you can see where it's coming from. And it's good to know those things to then know
Mhm.
also use them in a home to also know where to put your equipment and not have equipment. Because if you can detect a high amount of EMF with
Mhm.
a tri-field, you shouldn't put equipment there because it's going to go off
Mhm.
all night, you
Right.
know. So
Yeah, like when I got when I got, because I've got like the old school one, and then I have a digital one, and I check my Wi-Fi, I check my router pretty consistently
mhm,
because I have found three routers that slowly go bad over time,
mm,
and yeah, it's the amount of EMF that comes off of your router, you don't even
it's
realize.
no, it's crazy. It will just pin that thing,
Yep.
near a Wi-Fi. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big
Yeah.
that's a definite one of the places I used to love to go to is I'm still sad. It's been a couple of years. They've demolished it. This was, and you're gonna be mad you missed this. It was the Belglade Correctional Facility. It was an old prison it's an abandoned prison for I don't even know how many years, 30 years, something like that.
Uh-huh.
It was a 200 and I think 80-acre prison in the middle of the sugarcane fields in Belglade, Florida.
Yep. I know
That
where
was
I know.
one of my favorite places to go to. I know everybody from War Party talks about that too. It was one of my favorite places. It had so much activity and there was nothing out there besides the fact that you don't have any power in the place. You're in the middle of the sugarcane fields. There's not a
Right.
lot of power there, and it was just
And it
the
wouldn't have
church.
had and it wouldn't have had any infrastructure that would have had like, say, cable TV,
No, no.
infrastructure, or
Maybe in the offices or something. That's
yeah,
about it. The 2 biggest places we had the activity was I mean, you had them in the cell blocks and stuff, but the medical facility and the chapel. Those
mm,
were insane. And
transitional
yeah,
places.
I missed that place so much. Well, we were talking about when you're talking about noise canceling headphones. You've obviously done the SD method
I
with the
have.
spirit boxes, and people from War Party. So I tell people if you don't know and you know about the Estes method, go and get a pair of goggles from Mike Del Coro. Get the Delco goggles and do the Delco experiment because it's really, really produces some interesting results,
Yeah,
especially
my
if you
son
do
and
it.
I do it. My son and I do it a little differently. We do it a little
Mhm.
different. Well, same thing, but we use a different type of goggle kind of thing. But
Right,
I'll tell
right.
you about that later.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But
yeah,
his
it's a little bit different what we do. But yeah, I've done the Delco, and
did you?
it's
They're
pretty wild.
I yeah, they're pretty cool, and especially if you have somebody like on my team when we put somebody who was a psychic medium and
Hmm.
you put that on them, they gain a lot different.
Well,
They're getting a lot different.
do you know what, Bill? You know what I
What?
want? There's two things that I have. I'm going to manifest it. I'm going to tell you. I've been working on manifesting both of them. It's going to happen for me. I know it is. I want to try. I want to try using a Frank's box. I need to find somebody. Well, we have the schematics. We just got to find somebody to help us figure out how to build it. And then I want to try the God helmet. Those are
I
my
don't know
two
that
things.
one.
I'm going to do that.
I've heard that name, but I don't know much about that.
I mean, it's basically, it's kind of like tricking your brain. It's like you're putting, these electrodes on your head. And pretty much
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of like, it's like bringing you into that meditation state, like,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
within
Yeah, yeah.
minutes. Just,
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
yeah, I'm gonna, I can't help it though. I like weird stuff like that. Like I want to try it. I want to see what it's like. I want to see where it can take me, because like I'm an empath, I'm an intuitive.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I have some abilities, and
Come
I read energy, and
right.
whenever we do these, like the Estes method and this strange things, I always see things.
Sure.
I see things, I hear things, and so I don't know. I just want to try these different things and see where it can take me.
Come come to one of my shows and you'll see how much equipment I have because
Oh my god.
it depends on the show. Some of them just want me there, like doing autographs and have a table by,
Hmm.
whatever. But when they have the room and they could give me the room, I'll do like MegaCon gives me 3 8-foot tables, and I have a ridiculous amount, and I literally have almost 3 tables filled of equipment. I fill my entire SUV is filled with cases of equipment. I bring everything. You know why? Because people love to see it in person, because most of them have only seen it on TV,
On TV, yeah.
and they're really interested to see it in,
Mhm.
live in person, that the stuff actually exists. I have just about everything you could think of.
So cool.
Yeah,
So
it's
cool.
fun.
Yeah, no, it is fun. And it's just, you're right. It's, like you said, people see it on TV, but they don't get, to see it
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
person.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't realize some of that equipment really is
Yeah.
real. They think it's, devised for the TV. And, they like to look at it and see it. And we talk
Yeah.
about, even in my lectures, I'll bring a few pieces in and I'll explain how the pieces work before I
Hmm.
show them the evidence, so that they understand what they're looking at.
Right.
Because some people don't know some of the stuff we use.
Hmm. Hmm. Let's talk a little bit about the residential cases that your team works with, and like, if somebody has an issue
Mhm.
and they think it's a serious issue that they feel that they need to call in an expert. what
Right.
what do they do? What is that
Well,
process like for your team?
the first thing we tell them to do is go to our team website, which is PERS FL. So PERSFL.com.
Actually, I
And in
have
there,
that. I'm going to put that
think so.
into the chat.
Um, it, if you go there, you'll see a investigation request button. Click on it and fill out the form. The form is long, and it's long on purpose, because one, it weeds out the people who are just playing around with us, because we
Hmm.
get a lot of that too.
Right.
And it's good for us to pull as much information as we can at first, because it helps me decide sometimes which team members I want to put on the case.
Mm.
We'll
Yes.
contact the
Makes sense.
person after we get it in there. We'll contact the person. We'll by email normally, and we'll set up a time to do a Zoom meeting. And this is how, pretty much since COVID, how we do the initial meetings. We don't just go to the house right away anymore. We do a Zoom meeting. We'll
Hmm.
get them on with everybody that I assign onto the case. It could depend on what your case is about. It could depend on the area that you're in, because I have
Hmm.
people all over Florida, over in the Tampa area, from Jupiter down to Miami. So we're everywhere. And then we also have Georgia and Nebraska in the U.S. So even if you're not here, we can help you. Even if you're out of those areas, still come through us, because I'm also the Southeast director for the Warren Foundation. So if it's
Hmm.
something out of our region that we can't cover, I'll put it into the Warren Foundation. I'll still be on the case most likely, and it'll be with people in your area, that are all dedicated to this. So, and nobody charges. We don't charge a penny for anything we ever do like that. It's not about money for us. It's about helping people. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I tell people the reason we don't charge is it's not 100% science, and people can be fooled. We could tell them, if we wanted to, we could tell them anything we want. It's a demon, and we'll get it out $10,000, and people will write the check because they're scared, and it's not ethical.
Right. 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 Right.
So once we do the initial interview, usually about an hour on Zoom, we try to hear what's going on, figure out what's going on, and then we'll go from there. Sometimes we may give you a little homework, because it's not just
Hmm.
about what we're going to do at your place. It's about what you need to do to help yourself. People
Yes.
don't
Yes.
understand. I mean, if we go there
Yes.
and cleanse and walk around and cleanse everything, and you continue doing exactly what you're doing, next week you're going to be calling us again.
Yeah.
So you got to learn some lifestyle changes possibly. And it could be a lot of personal stuff. We may see your place. We like to see where you are. We may tell you declutter it a little bit. Although, look, I mean, I have a lot of clutter. This is a little organized clutter, a little different. But there's many different things. Listen to uplifting music, watch some uplifting things that will help shift the energy in the house, because the
Yes.
energy is what's causing a lot of it.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
when I go to a home, we teach the people how to cleanse themselves, so that they could help themselves. When I go, I use sage, I use Palo Santo, I use a singing bowl, which a lot of teams don't. Some do, but you got to
Mhm.
learn a little more about energy.
Mhm.
It could be just,
Mhm.
I've been in many places where it was just energy. and
Yep.
you cleanse the energy, and you can feel the shift in the house.
Yeah.
So there's just many, many things, and we stay with you no matter what. We're there to help you. So if we come to your home and we determine maybe it's a medical issue or a psychiatric issue or something like that, we're going to
Mhm.
stay with you, and we're going to try to help you and get you whatever care we can do.
Right.
We can't diagnose things. We can't
Right.
tell you exactly what to do, but we are there to help you no matter what. We're not going to leave you no matter what it is. Unless we get to the point where if we come to your house and we teach you what to do and you keep bringing it back every week, every week, every week, we're not going to come to your house 50 times. You'll
Right.
have to learn yourself, you know, or some people don't believe us that it's nothing, and they'll eventually go from team to team to team until they find a team that just
It tells
agrees
them
with
what
them.
they want to hear.
Yeah. A lot of our cases are people who dealt with teams and either gave them the wrong information or stirred things up. If people go
Yeah,
in,
that can happen too.
mhm, people go in and they don't know a lot about, say, demonic and demons, and you go in
Mhm.
and let's say the rare chance maybe it's a demonic case, and you do the wrong thing, you're not going to
Right.
have the slightest clue on what to do, and you're putting yourself, your team, and your client in danger,
Right.
because you don't want to do something that provokes a demon and you don't have anybody there that can handle the demon. You're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. A lot of
So
trouble.
yeah. So again, we try to stay with you, and we will not leave you unless it's the point where there's nothing else we can
Mhm.
do and you're not willing to help. If you're willing to help,
Right.
I've been to places 4, 5, 6 times, within the year, just to help them. And we'll come on Zoom, we'll come on anything and help you with anything you need. It's.
So if some, I mean, have you ever actually heard of any cases that like somebody was provoking either a demon or a negative entity, something very negative, someone provoking it, and then it actually can they actually cause you to have like health problems
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
from them
So
like putting their negative like
there Yeah, remember I was
yeah,
saying
yeah.
before, I'll talk about it now. So, we're well protected. Everybody on my team
Mhm,
is well protected, depending on what religion they are, what faith they are. We
mhm.
protect ourselves in different ways. Um, it's never 100%. I tell people you don't really have to worry at like ghost hunts and stuff, but again, it can happen. So I haven't had it many times, but this last time was October. Yeah, October of last year. I was with War Party, and if you know them, they can verify this story.
Mhm.
Um, we were at the Riddle House, and they were allowed up in the attic, which normally isn't open. And I think they've been up there once or twice. I had never been in the attic. I've been to the Riddle House many times. I'd never been to the attic. So I was all excited when I got there, and it was me and one of my teammates, David. We went up in the attic, and there was a bunch of the team members from War Party, and they all had, they had recorders going, and they were all doing EVP sessions. And one of them was saying, I think it was Joe. He said, everybody hit the recorders, and he said, okay. He goes, this guy's never been in the attic before, and what I want you to do is talk directly to him. Or he said, no, I've never been in the attic before, and I was using a new device because I had my DR60. And he said, so I want you to talk directly to him. This was the craziest EVP I think I've ever heard. Now, it wasn't on mine, it was on the other guy's recorder. There's about 4 people there were recorders. It talked over Joe speaking, which I've
Wow.
never ever heard before. So he says, what I want you to do is, and you hear it when it says that, it says straight out, it goes, he's dead, clear as day. So I was, doing this a long time, I was kind of laughing. Yeah, my wife will tell you that story when I came home that night. The next day, when she woke up and she goes, "What happened?" And because she doesn't investigate, but when she said, "What happened?" and I said, "Oh, you got to hear this." She was not amused by this at all.
Oh, but
She works
not.
with energy. Yeah, she works with energy and everything. She was not very happy with me. So I didn't think much of it. I did an extra cleansing of myself. I did extra prayers. I did whatever. Then all of a sudden, the next day for about a week and a half, I was a complete mess. And this is where I'm tapping into what you were saying about the health things. People
Yeah.
don't realize sometimes what an attachment or what the energy put on you can do. I had every bit of bad luck you can imagine, and I was not well. I wasn't sick like you could say, "Oh, you have the flu, oh, you have COVID, or oh, you have." I just wasn't well for about a week and a half, and then I had to get blessed and cleansed, and it went away. So yes, it can harm you. I mean, you know, I
So
work
what
with
do
the
we
Warren.
what do we do though then if we feel like maybe that a situation similar to that has happened to
Mhm.
us and we are having some long-term health issues, something that's we didn't have
What
before until a
right.
specific event happened. What do we do?
First, always go medical. Go to the
Mhm.
doctor, let them do tests, let them see what's going on. If it's something more than like a cold feeling or something, let them do tests, let them see what they find. If you think it's not that, or they can't find anything, and you realize that you were just on an investigation or so, if you don't go on
Mhm.
investigations, most likely, unless you're playing with the Ouija board every day,
Yeah.
most likely it's not spiritual. But
Right.
if you get that, then go find somebody who can bless you or cleanse you or whatever, again, whatever faith you're in,
Whatever
whatever you
faith you have.
whatever
Yeah.
you believe is what helps you,
Mhm.
you
Right.
know.
Because
Um
the faith part's the important part.
yeah, yeah. Like when
Mhm.
I say the one prayer that I have that we go in with and we come out with, it's a Catholic prayer because I was raised Catholic.
Mhm.
Are my teammates Catholic? No, but I'm saying the prayer that's protecting all of us.
Right.
So it will protect them.
Mhm.
They also do their own thing and say their own thing, but it has to be what
Yeah.
you believe. So go to your priest or go to somebody spiritual at a spiritual center, somebody that can cleanse you and bless you and do whatever. Don't go to somebody that's going to do a
Yes.
deliverance for $650. I mean,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I'll do it half price. No, no, you know what I mean. It's like don't
Yeah.
go and do that. You don't need that.
Yeah.
But people don't realize that that
Mhm.
kind of energy can cause issues. You know,
Mhm.
yes.
Yes.
It's the same thing with sage. We tell people, okay, yeah, we sage your house. We teach you how to sage. But if you just grab a piece of sage and walk around your house and wave the sage, all it's going to do is smell and smoke up your house.
Exactly.
It's about what your intent is for that sage to do and what
Right.
you're saying in your head or out loud, making it happen. The
Right.
sage doesn't do anything. And sage will not do anything against a demon, just so everybody knows that. You're not going to sage out a demon. I've
Yeah,
had
that's how
people
you
say
work.
it. I've had them say it that they don't like the smell. No. Maybe they're
Definitely
pissed off
not.
now, but they don't. It has nothing to
Yeah.
do with the sage.
Right.
you know, they know what you're there for. They're pissed, but the sage isn't bothering them.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I'm it's very interesting to me,
Mm,
I mean, the whole demonology part of it. It's like it's interesting to me.
it is.
It's but it is very intimidating,
Mhm.
it's very intimidating. It's for me anyways, in my the way
Yeah.
that I view things, like I feel like it's a
Everybody.
very intimidating part of you know what you guys do, like what
Right.
true investigators do.
Mhm.
It's
I I go on those cases because sometimes I'm called into them specifically
hmm
for it.
hmm
Um, I go on those cases to help people. I do it to help people. I do
yeah,
not look forward to going on a demonic case. I look forward to going to the local abandoned prison and the lighthouse and the
right,
things. I love it.
yeah,
But I do not look forward to going to a demonic case because when we watch TV and we watch movies, like again, I work for the Warren Legacy Foundation. So take the
hmm
Conjuring movies. They are based on their stories, but they are enhanced for a movie. They
hmm
have to be frightening and they have to be crazy. But I can tell you things that I've seen on demonic cases that you would think you only saw in a movie that actually do happen. But they're rare, but they're frightening. I don't look forward to going on those cases, but I do it to help people.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, because like you said, we see it in the movies, but when you see
Mhm.
it, I mean, Chris just told me that she's like, you know,
It's
when
Yeah.
you see it, you're just like, and you cannot show fear.
I tell
You
people
gotta
that,
be
yeah,
badass.
people ask me in the lectures and things like that, what's the craziest thing? And I tell them, I go, look, I'll gladly tell you things I've seen and what I've encountered. I do not at all expect you to believe it. If I heard it, I wouldn't believe it if I didn't know. You have to witness it. Hopefully, you don't have to witness it, but you
Right.
have to witness it to
Right.
fully understand, what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of people out there that don't believe in the paranormal because they've never experienced it. That's 100% understandable. You know,
Right.
I didn't fully believe until I experienced things when I was younger. I researched it and I was into it, but
Mhm.
I didn't fully believe until the handful of experiences that pushed me over the edge,
Right.
to
Right.
make me research. But everything I was encountered has not made me run from it. It's made me want to look for the
Learn
answers.
more.
Yeah,
Right.
I
Yeah.
want to know, like, why did that happen? Why did that person get attacked and not
Right.
me?
Right.
How?
Right.
Why? We're both in the room. What happened? And I've been
Hmm.
there with people full on attacked, and I don't get it. It's something
Wow.
I constantly try to learn about. And unfortunately, with a lot of stuff we're never going to know.
Yep. No,
Nobody
you're
knows.
right.
Nobody knows everything. And
Hmm.
I don't know if you've ever seen this. This is a big topic of discussion in the groups and everything, even within the paranormal field. They say there are no experts in the paranormal field.
Hmm.
I will tell you 100% false. And, an expert does not mean you know everything. It means have an authoritative knowledge of a specific subject.
Yes.
So I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I'm saying I was trained by some experts. I worked with some experts. I work with some experts right now.
Hmm.
And I would consider them experts from their knowledge and their education and their experience. It doesn't mean you know everything. I'm a technology expert. I don't know everything. You know, you're
Right.
always learning in every field. Your doctor is an expert. He doesn't know everything. He got
Right.
to send you to a specialist. It's the same
It's the
thing.
same thing. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
there's a lot of things about that. You'll see people posting all the time, and I try not to comment on it because it
Yeah.
sparks too much drama. Everybody's all, I don't know why they're so uptight over the word expert.
Yeah, I know. But I'm glad that you made that clarification because to your point, it is true.
Yeah.
It's the
It's
truth.
you don't know
There
everything.
are
Nobody
people
knows.
who have expertise and who have been trained in specific
Hmm.
areas, and that's why you bring them in on
Right.
cases, and that's why you bring them in. Yeah, like
Look
it's.
look at a team. A lot of teams are formed by this person
Mhm.
is a technology expert. This person is a psychic
Mhm.
medium. This
Yep.
person is an empath.
Hmm.
Everybody's brought in because of their specialty of what they do.
Right.
And some of them are experts. Do I say an expert has to have at least, a decent amount of years of education and
Hmm.
experience, not just I've been in the field for 3 months and now I believe I'm an expert. I don't believe in that. The people I would call experts have been doing this for longer than me.
Right. Right. We are coming up on an hour and a half. Thank you so much.
I can talk and talk, believe me.
This has been no, but this has been. I love these kind of shows. I love techie shows. I love it. Like I did, my friend Robbie Rains. I had him on, and we talked about tracking, and I had Alex Petikoff on, and we talked. We did the whole drones. We got into drones. Like I
Right,
mean,
right, right.
I love the techie talk, so I love it. I'm there. I'm there. When it's tech, I'm
Right.
like, I'm learning. I want to know. I want to know. I want to know. Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's how I am.
thank you so much
You're welcome.
for being here, agreeing to be here. I know you're a busy guy, and
No, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun. Can
yeah,
can I
it was a lot.
mention can I mention a couple things that are
Absolutely. I
already.
was just gonna say, what do you have coming up? What do you?
We have a lot. And me personally too. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's me, sometimes it's me and my team. It depends on what it is. But I have a lot of things that aren't confirmed yet this year. I'm still waiting. But right now, the stuff that is confirmed is I will be a celebrity guest at Phantasm Orlando September 15th to the 17th. That's going to be a really fun show. I'll be up there. Some of my team members will also be there. I'll have all my equipment. We'll be doing panels throughout the whole weekend. And Chris McKennell, who is the grandson of Ed and Lorraine Warren, will be there as a guest. And Joe Frankie, who worked with the Warrens for 40 years, will also be a guest right next to me.
Oh, cool.
And we'll be all doing panels together. So it's going to be a lot of information. October 21st, I'll be at the Coconut Creek Library. That's a free event for everybody if you're local down here in Florida. We usually do about 2-3 hours there. We have a really good time with everybody. We do a free raffle, all kind of stuff. October 7th and 14th are going to be in Miami libraries, just not confirmed where yet. And then for next year, the 7th, I'll be January 7th at Fort Lauderdale Con, January 14th at Fort Myers Comic Con, and then there's a lot more coming up next year. But that's it for this year so far. I don't know, the other ones haven't been fully confirmed, but there's a bunch waiting.
That is awesome. So I also put your, the website in as well. So on all of those dates and all those events they're on your website, right? Okay.
Both on my personal site and on the team site.
And
we
on
have
the team
calendars.
site?
Yeah, we have a calendar of events, and then we also have like a news page. So I always post where I'm going to be, what's going on, and everything about it. And you could always contact me directly, and you have any questions, I'm always there to answer people's questions about is something real, or you're an investigator, you want to know a question about an equipment, anything, contact me. I am available. I may not get right back to you the next day, but I will try to get back to everybody all the time.
Yeah. So, all right. So I've put your social media accounts, Slevin Paranormal, at Slevin Paranormal, and then your website, and also the team's information.
Yes.
And
keep an eye out for YouTube, everybody, because I've been yelled at for years why I don't have a YouTube. And it's mostly because I don't have the time. but it was put together now. There is a graphic, and there is coming soon. It is coming soon, and it's not going to be like what you see. It's going to be it's not going to be like investigation. It's not going to look like a TV show. There will be investigations. There's also going to be educational videos. There's going to be training videos. There's going to be interviews with people sometimes. There's going to be a lot of different things. It's going to be a full paranormal world there. It's not just investigating.
And that's what we need, though. We need that, it's your educator, spirit coming out and coming through. It's definitely like the perfect
maybe
thing for
you. Maybe even some live debunking shows. Bring your stuff on, and we'll figure it out.
That would be a blast. That would be a blast.
It's gonna be fun. I was just trying to find time for it.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for my book that may come out the end of the year. We'll see.
Oh, yes.
Coming soon.
Okay. Well, when that comes out, then you have to come back on my show so you can at least promote that. And you got to be a regular now. Like you're part of my soul tribe now. So
anytime.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I appreciate it.
My viewership they love this stuff. They love this stuff. They don't like it that if I do it too much.
Right.
Because they really like my cryptids. So, I gotta throw a little of everything.
A little of everything.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So do you have a few minutes to wait for me backstage?
Absolutely.
Say goodbye to everybody?
Sure.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Thanks. Well, guys, that was another amazing show in the books. I'm telling you, I learned so much tonight. The conversation was amazing. I will definitely probably be going back to this video myself to kind of go over a lot of the information so that I kind of have a lot of it and soak it all in, because there's a lot of information tonight. So we will see if we can get Bill back for maybe a part 2 in a couple months when he's got some availability. And I think it'll be worth it. I think there's a lot more information, I'm sure, that he can share with us. So I will be looking forward to that. There will be no show next week, guys. I am definitely going to enjoy my 4th of July weekend. So there will not be a show not that week. However, the week after that, Les Durant is going to come back and we're going to talk some more UFO stuff. So it is going to be another fun show with him. And I have a really big Bigfoot team coming on soon. I'm just waiting on them to get back to me with the dates. And you guys are not going to want to miss that show. So pay attention to all of my upcoming links and my shows. Keep an eye out for that one because you're not going to want to miss it. All right, guys, have a wonderful night.